This month I am giving a series of group remote diamond and gemstone therapy sessions on your heart, your lungs, your liver, your gallbladder, your stomach, all the organs inside your body that have specific duties that help you function, that keep you going, that keep you alive. Collectively, they're called the visceral organs. So what I thought I would do would be to select gemstones that specifically support different organs within the visceral organ system. One of the most important organs is the heart. So let's start there. Now, I approach the heart and supporting the heart a little bit differently, but I'd like to show you gemstones that support the heart as a muscle. This is Rose Quartz with Red Spinel. Now you may have seen Rose Quartz by itself. Here's another way that Rose Quartz comes. And another way Rose Quartz comes in spheres or in rondelles. Here's some smaller rondelles. The reason that I equate Rose Quartz with Red Spinel for heart health is for a couple of reasons. One is that these gemstones are particularly good at supporting muscle vitality. In fact, I consider Rose Quartz with Red Spinel the vitalizing gemstones for the muscular system. There's also the other version, which has Red Spinel as its primary gemstone, and Rose Quartz and Pink Spinel as the supportive symbiotic gemstones. All right, so why Rose Quartz? Well, it's because muscles tend to accumulate emotional energies that we suppress, that we deny, that we don't know how to deal with, and so we hold on to them. Well, where? They're held in the muscles. They're held in the muscles. And as they're held in the muscles can get stiff, they get rigid, they can dry out and become less flexible. They can lose their strength. Energetically, they get so filled with emotional energies that there's no room for the life-giving color ray energies that keep the muscles vital and alive. Rose Quartz has a very clear affinity with the emotions, and Red Spinel has an affinity with the muscles as a rhythmic organ. Red Spinel supports rhythms. When you string it with Rose Quartz, it's going to be supporting the rhythmic release of held emotions. So, can you do that without Red Spinel? Yes, Rose Quartz by itself will help you release some of these emotions, but what happens is that it's not controlled. You have this urge to want to release these emotions, but sometimes they come out inappropriately. With Red Spinel, they are a release that occurs rhythmically. You have a release, and then you get to balance out. Another release, and then balance out. And that is rhythmic. You can handle it more easily. It's steady, and the release is so much more handleable, if that's a word. You're able to continue functioning in your life while these gemstones are helping you have this release. The heart, as an emotional organ, as an organ of feeling, is very much tied to this because the heart is a muscle, and it tends to be a muscle where a great deal of emotions tend to collect. It's not the only one, but it certainly collects more emotions than most other muscles. Rose Quartz comes in different varieties. In most cases, the sphere form is going to give you the greatest saturation of color just because it has a greater mass. The rondelles tend to be shaped that way because the source crystal that it comes from is much more rare and of a much higher quality. We distinguish between Rose Quartz and what we call rosalite, which is a high vibration Rose Quartz. You can see here how this rosalite has a glow to it, and that's how we distinguish the two. We have seen rosalite in spheres, and it does tend to glow, but it also tends to be more translucent or more even transparent. And so the inclusions, the colorless cracks that are typical of rose quartz, tend to show up more in rosolite, and we try to avoid them. The highest quality rosolite does not have these cracks. Rose quartz, red spinel, and then red spinel with rose quartz and pink spinel. That is our rhythm formula. That's just what we named it. So red spinel comes in a variety of sizes. The darker the red, the more effective the red spinel. So next I'd like to talk about green nephrite jade as a vitalizing gemstone for the kidneys. We consider it a vitalizing gemstone for the fascia system, but as far as organs are concerned, it has uses as a vitalizing gemstone for the kidneys themselves. So let me explain them both. So here's why nephrite jade is helpful for the fascia system. It has to do with the natural way that the body moves energy around itself. We have a natural tendency for our energy to expand and kind of fly apart. Think of a centrifuge. That's called a centrifugal force. It happens as we age. It's a very natural thing to happen. It also happens when we grow weak, if we're depleted. The centrifugal force gets stronger. What happens when the centrifugal force brings our energies outward and in a way separates them as they expand? Well, there's room and there's space there for unwanted energies to come in, and our energy field as a whole is not a good container, or not as good a container, for healing, life-giving energies. So when you wear green nephrite jade with prehnite, it emphasizes the centripetal force, which is the healing force, which helps bring energies in and toward you. The prehnite helps you to better receive those energies so that they have a place in your body. Since the fascia are connective tissue and very important to be able to hold you together, the green nephrite jade supports the fascia to be able to do that. But green nephrite jade also has an affinity with the kidneys, and this is a historical correlation. The word jade originally was associated with nephrite jade. So the Spanish called it piedra de hijada, which is the origin or one origin of the word jade, and the Greek word for jade meant, in literal translation, kidney stone. So cultures around the world, from the Middle Americans, South Americans, to the Chinese, would use jade for vitality. And it's said that the conquistadors, when they came to Mexico, learned to keep a jade pebble in their pockets for vitality. The Chinese consider one source of our vitality to be our kidneys, and they associate kidney with the emotion of fear. So remember I talked about that centrifugal and the centripetal force? When you're afraid, your energies are really scattered. They expand for a reason. You naturally want to get a sense of, well, why am I afraid? Where is the source of this fear coming from? How can I protect myself? These days, we're not so much worried about the lions and tigers that may chase us and eat us. In our culture today, what we're faced with is this underlying fear that accumulates. Traumas throughout our life start to shape how we think and feel and how we even act. Certainly they affect how our energies are presenting themselves. And usually it's in an expanded state where the jade and the energies start to come in. There are two sources for the finest quality therapeutic jade that we work with. One is British Columbia, Canada, and the other is Siberia in Russia. We prefer the Russian jade because it has an extra special quality. It has a chatoyance, a flash, And this gives that jade just as extra vitality that definitely translates to you when you're wearing it. Another important visceral organ is the lungs. And we have quartz as a vitalizing gemstone for not only the respiratory system as a system, but for the lungs in particular. We pair frosted quartz with clear quartz because they represent the yin and the yang. This also comes from Chinese medicine, and their view that all of nature can be described in terms of yin and yang. Yang would be the clear quartz. It's bright, it's hot, it's sunny, it's drying. And the frosted quartz, which is cool, moist, and represents the shady side of the mountain, whereas the clear quartz would be the sunny side. When you breathe, the inhale and the exhale leaves you with a sense of homeostasis. The yin and the yang, when perfectly balanced, they also support that same homeostasis. Lung conditions, when the lungs become imbalanced for some reason, they either tend to become too dry or too moist. You have a dry cough or you have a wet cough, so to speak. So working with the Harmony necklace, which has the symbiotic yin and yang quartz, helps to balance it. Both extremes come together and you find health. And that's just the nature of the lung system. It has so much to do with balance, and the balance of yin and yang in particular. Okay, so also associated with the heart is the circulatory system. And we find that this dumortierite carnelian to be the vitalizing gemstone for the circulatory system. It's not necessarily an organ per se, but I just felt it would be a good idea to include this in this particular presentation on visceral organ gemstones, just because the circulatory system is very much associated with the heart. As you know, the heart pumps blood, and it may beat around 100,000 times a day, moving blood through your body. The blood helps bring oxygen to your cells. It helps clear the toxins from your body. It keeps energies moving throughout your body. Very important. The dumortierite specifically has an affinity with the vessel walls, and the carnelian has an affinity with the blood itself and the movement of that blood, the vitalizing movement of it. So together, the dumortierite and the carnelian support the circulatory system as a whole. In particular, what's kind of interesting about dumortierite is that it has a particular tendency to move energy up the body. It's easy for energy to move down. We spend most of our lives standing or sitting, and when we are sitting, we kind of get in the way of our circulatory system from moving energy up the body, and the blood and water can tend to pool in our legs and feet. The dumortierite energetically supports an upward movement to support the circulatory system and a complete return up the body and through the heart, where the whole process repeats once again. So next I'd like to talk about the stomach and the digestive system. The vitalizing gemstone for the digestive system is yellow sapphire with white beryl. The yellow sapphire, the carrier of the yellow color ray, is the color that is most vitalizing for the digestive function of our digestive system. The stomach, being in the center of our body, is also the location where the stomach chakra is located, and the stomach chakra functions at its best when it's calling in a spectrum that dominates in the yellow color ray. So if the stomach chakra is weakened at all, and our sense of self-esteem, self-identity, self-control, self-empowerment is lacking, it could signal a deficiency in the yellow ray. And interestingly, I find the correlation in clients who have that poor self-esteem and digestive issues. So it's a real interesting correlation. The yellow color ray, the yellow sapphire white beryl, is also present in our yellow sapphire spray. So you can get it that way too. A very popular gemstone is citrine. Now citrine comes in all kinds of shapes because it's a popular gemstone, and the crystals tend to be relatively large. So if you can imagine the size of the crystals that these particular citrine came from, you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Versus the yellow sapphire, these beads come from relatively smaller source crystals. Citrine, contrary to popular belief, is not a substitute for yellow sapphire. Yes, it helps prepare the body to receive the yellow color ray, but it does not substitute for the yellow color ray. It helps the body receive the color ray, specifically the stomach area, with a very unique property that citrine has in the gemstone kingdom, and that is the ability to unwind, to actively cause a circulating circular motion that supports unwinding of tension. People tend to hold tension in their gut, in their intestines, in their stomach. It affects the digestive tract. It affects how well you're able to be regular. Diarrhea, constipation, pain in the abdomen. And this can degenerate into conditions of inflammation in the abdomen. And that just causes all kinds of pain and suffering. And also, as our digestive system is compromised, our ability to receive nourishment from the food we eat is also compromised. What you can do is, by wearing the citrine, you're helping to unwind. It's like an inner massage for your gut. This inner massage that gently, gently helps to unwind that tension. And as the tension unwinds, the area is able to receive its life-giving energies, and one of them being a spectrum that is rich in the yellow color ray. So that is how citrine helps to bring in yellow color ray. But if you want to work with the yellow color ray specifically, then you want to work with yellow sapphire. We do pair each of these gemstones with white beryl. The yellow sapphire we pair with white beryl, so that the white beryl can help to clear any blockages in the inflow of the yellow color ray, and also the outflow of used and spent color ray. Always needs to be a circulation, always an inflow and an outflow to keep us healthy. We pair white beryl with citrine to help the body release unwanted energies that may be holding tension in place. So as the citrine helps to unwind, if it comes across a blockage, that white beryl is there to help dissolve that blockage so that the unwinding motion can continue and the tissues can relax, receive more circulation, and receive more life-giving energies. Sometimes I'll wear citrine because I'm looking for a sense of loosening or greater flexibility in my whole body as well. And sometimes in my life, if I feel like things are getting a little stuck, they're not moving as I'd like them to move, I'll wear citrine with white beryl. So a very important organ in our body is the liver. And for the liver, we have dark green aventurine and Tsavorite. One of the functions of the liver is detoxification. The liver has many functions actually, and it does a lot to detoxify the body. Dark green aventurine's primary function is detoxification, and it has a natural affinity with the cellular level. Not all gemstones work specifically on the cellular level. They have different what we call tropisms, meaning where their energies naturally migrate. Dark green aventurine will naturally migrate to the cellular level in the cells, and particularly in the liver, because it just has an affinity there. We choose Tsavorite as the symbiotic gemstone for dark green aventurine instead of emerald, because Tsavorite also has an affinity with the cellular level. Tsavorite is a member of the garnet family, And the garnets are the keepers of the vortexes. Each garnet does something different to the vortexes in our body. Tsavorite works with the cellular vortexes. Those tiny little cells each have a little vortex that helps them to bring in life energy and release unwanted energies. The vortexes all point outward when the cell is healthy in order to support the superphysical aura. But that's another topic for another day. Dark green aventurine tsavorite, specific for helping the liver, vitalizing the liver, and supporting detoxification. Emerald, white beryl, is an excellent choice for the visceral organs as a whole, because all of the visceral organs enjoy a rich complement of green color. Now, didn't I just say that the stomach and the digestive system likes yellow ray? Yes, the function aspect, the aspect of bringing in the food, breaking it down into nutrients that the body can use. But the tissues that form the stomach and the intestines, the tissues themselves rely on a spectrum rich with green color. And so that's where the emerald comes in. If you're working with your stomach, your digestive system, yes, you can work with the yellow color, make sure the digestive process is working. If your body needs it, especially if you have other organs that are having difficulties, then you would want to work with the green color. You see, the thing about organs is that they seem to be such unique individuals. They're each a different shape, they each have a very specific function, and they each seem to work independently of the body. But I don't think so. I do not think so. And I say this partly from my own experience, having had such grave heart issues that led to a heart transplant in 2005, but also because of what I've observed in my remote sessions with people. What I notice is that all of the organs have this network of, you might say, fibers, very, very tiny. Maybe they are a specific form of fascia connection. I don't know, but I do know that one day when scientists can see small enough in the body, they will find these fibers. They're a communication network that unites the visceral organs into one whole system. They are as one. And if one is ailing, what's really interesting is that others will support it. Other organs will lend it energy. Yeah, sometimes to the detriment of those organs, but they have this sense of where their energies need to go, and they will support the weakest link in the chain, so to speak. They will support the weakest organ in the body. That connection, that network is supported with a spectrum that is rich in the green color, and that is provided most directly to the body by wearing emerald. We add white beryl to help release and clear the blockages that may stand in the way of a healthy flow of green emerald energy to the body. Just one more that I wanted to mention in this particular video. This is what we call Living River. It is blue-green fluorite with citrine and carnelian. And I believe I talked about this last time in my last video. While it is our vitalizing gemstone for the urinary bladder system, it's also particularly vitalizing for the bladder itself and for the reproductive organs, which are a part of the visceral organ system. They are members of that system. So yes, this works with the urinary bladder system as a whole, which does include the kidneys, but can be particularly helpful for disharmony in the lower abdomen. And the reason is because blue-green fluorite has a natural tendency to bring energy down the body. And when there is a deficiency in the bladder or the uterus, the reproductive organs, it usually means there's a deficiency there. And in our day and age, where so much attention is up here in the head, and we're thinking so much, we're seeing, we're on our devices all the time, a lot of attention on the sensory system, energy is staying up when it should be also moving down. So one pair of necklaces not to wear together are these two. The Dumortierite carnelian is going to naturally move energy up the body, and the living river, the blue-green fluorite, is going to be naturally moving energy down the body. So I just said, in today's day and age, we have a lot of attention up here in our heads, thinking and visualizing, seeing. Why would we ever want Dumortierite carnelian? And that's because the upward flow that we use during the day with all the attention in our heads, our legs aren't neglected. So the Dumortierite starts that upward energy moving below our feet, up through the legs, and then up our torso. And when the legs are included in this natural upward flow, any excess that may be in our upper body because of overthinking helps to balance out. It does balance out. Anyway, so my group remote Diamond and Gemstone Therapy sessions this month, I have 3 sessions. Don't worry if you missed one. We will be making the recordings available. I'm Isabel Morton, founder of the Gemstone Therapy Institute, and thank you for joining me today as we took a look at some of the gemstones that are supportive for health in the body, particularly ones that are supportive for a few of the visceral organs inside us that keep us going every day. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.